What's up there, film buffs? It's Straight Shooter. Welcome to another episode of How I See It. Coming at you from Team Sound Studios, as always. And my spoiler review today will be of Parasite. Now, this movie is making its Oscar rounds. The Oscars are actually tomorrow, which is pretty interesting. I guess we'll see how it does. But I didn't catch this in theaters, so I caught it online. It was a friend recommendation, so thank you to my friend for recommending it to me. So it's a foreign movie. It comes to us from Korea, and I'm going to guess South Korea because the subject matter is probably too taboo for North Korea to approve because they're still a dictatorship. It's about different cultures within the same society. The movie centers around this family, this mother and father, daughter and son. The daughter and son are both teenagers, and they live in poverty. They live in a basement somewhere, and they struggle for money, they struggle for work, and they survive by their wits and through manipulation, and I'll get into that in a little bit. What starts to happen is the son's friend says, I have this girl that I tutor in English, and I'm going away to college, and I want you to take over. So the family of the daughter that he tutors is very well to do. They live in a big house. They have someone that works for them in the house. They have other people work for them, and of course they have tutors for their kids. So the family has money, and first he gets a job in the house tutoring the girl, and then he brings his sister who can tutor the son in art. So she gets a job, and then the father gets a job driving for the father of that family, and then the mother takes over for the housekeeper. They get the housekeeper fired. So slowly but surely you start to see what the family's true intentions are. They don't just want to each have jobs to survive. They actually want to take over the lives of the people in the house. The people that are in poverty are the Kim family and the rich family, or I don't know if you call them rich, but they're well-to-do. The people that live in the big house, they're the Park family. The Park family goes away on a trip, and the Kim family's in the house, and they're bunking there, and they're basically living vicariously through the Park family. They find out that the housekeeper, her husband was being boarded under the house, and the Park family didn't know, and they, instead of trying to help them, they just said, well, we should report this and everything. So there was a conflict, and then it all leads to there's a party for the Park's son. There was this other thing that early in the movie when the Park family was talking about the father of the Kim family, saying that there's this smell about him. I don't know, it smells like basement, or it smells like servitude, or something along those lines. And it's a metaphor for how different the two families are. It also leads to what happens at the end of the movie, during the party. The husband of the housekeeper escapes, goes on a rampage. He kills the Kim's daughter. In a rage, Mrs. Kim kills the husband of the housekeeper, and then, but he's tending to his daughter who's bleeding out profusely, and he's begging Mr. Park to help them, but Mr. Park is saying, just give me the keys. So what ends up happening is he takes the keys so that they can go to the hospital themselves. And he's holding his nose, meaning like, you smell bad. Mr. Kim and the guy that he killed, they smell bad. So that triggers Mr. Kim, and he kills Mr. Park. And he has to go in hiding and where he goes and hides, where no one can find him, is under the house. Until eventually the rest of the family end up taking over the house because the Park family sold it, and they manipulated their way into owning the house, and Mr. Kim is free to live with them, and he doesn't have to worry about staying in the basement anymore. That's pretty much the end of the movie. It's a pretty interesting character study because it makes you really think about socially conscious issues. Like, they make you say, who's really wicked? The rich people that look down on the people in poverty and the people that are in servitude, or the people that are in poverty manipulating their way and cheating the system to be part of the life of a well-to-do family, someone with a house and stuff like that. Because I wouldn't say that either side is necessarily good, because even if you live in poverty, manipulation and deceiving people, I don't think is the way to be successful, even though most people in the world that have lived in poverty would probably say, well, how else do you do it? And I guess I haven't been in that situation. Like, I haven't lived in poverty. I've never had to struggle to survive. And so I guess maybe I don't know enough. But I think whether you live in poverty or whether you have more money than you know what to do with, you still have to have a moral compass. And I think both families were kind of lacking a moral compass in ways. Because if I was rich, if I became like a millionaire tomorrow, yeah, right, I would never forget where I came from. And I would never look down on anybody else. But I guess that's because if you grew up with a lot of money, maybe that's how you learned. It's learned behavior. Just like the kids that lived in poverty with their parents, it's learned behavior. The manipulation, the deception, and everything. So the movie opens your eyes and makes you see that people are a lot more than what you see on the surface. People's minds are very complicated, and you can't always judge a book by its cover. The people that are in poverty, they may not be successful, they may be struggling to survive, but they have their wits. They have their ways of rising above. And the people that have money, they may not have to worry about struggling to survive, and they'll always have their house or whatever, but they look down on people that would they consider them lower in society from them. So where's the middle? Which is, I guess you can say, like, I'm probably in the middle. Like, I'm not rich, but I'm not in poverty. And that's probably about where I've been for most, if not all, my life. But I'm not saying any one way is right or wrong. My point is, whether you have money, a lot of money, or whether you struggle to survive, your moral compass shouldn't waver. Just like if you're somewhere in the middle, your moral compass usually doesn't waver. But at the same time, unless you're in the situation, you probably don't know, right? So the movie opens you up to different worlds that you probably either didn't know existed, or you probably just shrugged off as, well, that's something that I'll probably never run into in my life. But there are people that are like that. There are people that have hard lives. And there are people like the Park family that have good lives, but they look down on other people, and because of that, they're not very good people themselves. So it's very interesting with the story that the movie is telling. And I think because it's such an important issue in today's world, it makes you think. It makes you realize that there's more to the world than you see on an everyday basis. I would hope that I would never have to be in this situation like the Kims were. And if I ever succeeded on a high level to where the Parks did, I would never look down on other people just because I had money and other people maybe didn't have as much money as I did. But like I said earlier, you don't really know unless you're in the situation, right? So that's what makes you think. The movie makes you really look at the issue on a more of a broad scale. And if you had a narrow point of view, whether it's your own fault or not, it helps widen that view. And I think that's very important because a lot of movies can have a message, and the message can be a general message that most people can relate to, or it's a narrower message that maybe not most people can relate to, but some people can relate to. But this is a message that's important to tell because whether you can relate to it or not, it's important that you let people know that it goes on in the world. So yeah, I think it's a really good movie, and it blends genres because at first it seems like it's kind of a comedy. The Kim family, the way they get jobs in the house, and there's a lot of funny lines, but then it turns into a drama, and then it turns into chaos in the last 20 minutes or so. So a lot of turns, a lot of things you don't expect, but all that being said, I give the movie an A. That's how I see it. And I would definitely recommend it. And it's not often that I give high praise to an Oscar bait movie. And when they made the movie, they probably didn't think, well, this is going to win Best Picture or Best Foreign Picture or whatever. I'm sure the filmmaker just said, this is my idea. This is how I see the world. This is what I think happens. And he's right. And it's a rare case where a movie just takes off because of how important it is. And it is a really important movie right now. Yeah, so I would definitely recommend watching it at least once. And like I said, that's how I see it. Fasten your seatbelts, boys and girls, because that's review 1 of 4 today. That's right. Stay tuned. I'm coming right back at you.